The Bible. It's a book filled with stories that have captivated humanity for centuries. These stories have been passed down through generations, shaping cultures and beliefs. And it all begins with Genesis, the very first book. Genesis means beginning, and that's exactly what this book is, the beginning of everything. It sets the stage for the entire biblical narrative. It lays the foundation for understanding God, humanity, and the world we live in. Through its verses, we see the dawn of creation and the birth of human civilization. Genesis introduces us to the very essence of who God is. It reveals his nature and his intentions for the world. He is the creator, the architect of the universe. Every star in the sky and every grain of sand is a testament to his handiwork. He is powerful yet personal. He walks with us in our daily lives, guiding and nurturing us. He is just yet merciful. His judgments are fair, but his mercy is boundless. And it's through the stories in Genesis that we begin to grasp the depth of his character. Each story, each event, reveals a different facet of his divine nature. These stories aren't just ancient history. They are living lessons relevant to our lives today. They are timeless truths woven into the fabric of human experience. They connect us across time and space, reminding us of our shared humanity. They speak to our deepest longings, our greatest fears, and our constant search for meaning. They offer comfort, guidance, and hope. So, as we journey through Genesis, we'll uncover the roots of our faith. We'll explore the origins of our beliefs and traditions. We'll grapple with the complexities of human nature. We'll see our strengths and our flaws reflected in the stories of those who came before us. And we'll discover the unwavering love of a God who desires a relationship with us, a love that is patient, enduring, and ever-present. In the beginning there was nothing, no light, no life, just a vast emptiness. Then God spoke.
Let there be light.
And there was light. The creation story unfolds like a magnificent symphony, each day revealing a new layer of God's handiwork. First came light, separating day from night. Then the sky and the waters, dividing the heavens from the earth. On the third day, dry land emerged, teeming with plants and trees. The sun, moon and stars illuminated the sky, marking seasons and time. The waters came alive with creatures and birds soared through the air. Finally, God created humanity. He breathed life into Adam, forming him from the dust of the ground. And from Adam's rib, he created Eve, his companion and equal. The creation story culminates with the Sabbath, a day of rest. God blessed the seventh day, sanctifying it as a reminder of his creative power and a time for us to rest and reconnect with him. Imagine a garden, not just any garden, but a paradise of unimaginable beauty and tranquility. A paradise filled with lush greenery, crystal clear rivers, and the sweet songs of birds that filled the air with melody. This was the Garden of Eden, a place where Adam and Eve lived in perfect harmony with God, surrounded by the splendor of creation. God gave Adam and Eve just one rule. They were not to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, a tree that stood in the midst of the garden. But a serpent, cunning and deceitful, slithered into their lives, bringing with it the seeds of doubt and temptation. He whispered doubts into Eve's ear, questioning God's goodness and promising her wisdom and enlightenment if she ate the forbidden fruit.
It does look so tempting, so irresistible.
Eve, enticed by the serpent's persuasive words and the allure of the fruit, took a bite, tasting the forbidden knowledge. She then gave some to Adam, who also ate. In that moment, their innocence was shattered and their eyes were opened to a new reality. They felt shame, fear and separation from God for the first time, emotions they had never known before. This act of disobedience, the first sin, had profound consequences that rippled through time. Adam and Eve were banished from the Garden of Eden, their paradise lost, guarded by an angel with a flaming sword. Sin and death entered the world, casting a long dark shadow over humanity, altering the course of history. But even in their sin, God provided a glimmer of hope, a promise that all was not lost. He promised a Redeemer, one who would crush the serpent's head and restore humanity's relationship with him, bringing light into the darkness. Adam and Eve's sin cast a long shadow, a shadow that would reach far beyond their own lives and into the lives of their children. Their sons, Cain and Abel, became caught in its grip, each one struggling with their own burdens and responsibilities. Cain, a farmer, toiled the land and offered God a sacrifice of his crops, hoping to gain favor and blessings. Abel, a shepherd, offered the firstborn of his flock, a lamb, as a sacrifice to God, seeking divine approval. God looked favorably upon Abel's offering but rejected Cain's. Jealousy consumed Cain, filling his heart with bitterness and rage. Overcome by his emotions, he lured his brother into the field and murdered him in cold blood, an act driven by envy and anger. God confronted Cain, questioning him about Abel's whereabouts, seeking the truth behind the heinous act. Cain, hardened and defiant, replied, "Am I my brother's keeper?" His words echoed his guilt and defiance. God punished Cain, cursing the ground he worked and condemning him to a life of wandering, a nomad with no place to call home. Cain's story reveals the destructive power of sin, a force that can corrupt and destroy lives. It shows how envy and anger can fester, leading to violence and brokenness, tearing apart families and communities. Cain's descendants continued down a path of wickedness, further distancing themselves from God, perpetuating the cycle of sin. The story of Cain and Abel serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of our actions. It reminds us of the consequences of unchecked sin, urging us to reflect on our own lives and choices. It calls us to examine our own hearts and choose the path of righteousness, to seek forgiveness and strive for a life of virtue and integrity. Section 5. The Great Flood, Noah and God's Covenant. Generations passed and humanity's wickedness continued to grow. The earth was filled with violence and corruption, grieving God's heart. But amidst the darkness, a righteous man named Noah found favor in God's eyes.
Noah, build an ark, a massive vessel that will save you, your family, and two of every living creature from a catastrophic flood.
Noah obeyed, faithfully following God's instructions. The rains came, pouring from the heavens for 40 days and 40 nights. The floodwaters rose, covering the highest mountains and wiping out every living thing on earth. Only Noah, his family, and the animals on the ark survived.
I make a covenant with you, Noah. Never again will I destroy the earth with a flood.
The rainbow, a symbol of hope and God's faithfulness, arched across the sky as a reminder of this promise. Section 6. Reaching for the heavens, the Tower of Babel. After the flood, humanity began to rebuild. People migrated eastward, settling in the land of Shinar. United by a common language, they decided to build a city and a tower that would reach to the heavens. This tower, they believed, would make them famous and prevent them from being scattered across the earth. They longed for unity and power, but their motives were rooted in pride and self-reliance. God saw their arrogance and confused their languages, scattering them across the earth. The tower, a symbol of human ambition and defiance, was abandoned. The story of the Tower of Babel reminds us of the dangers of pride. It teaches us that true unity comes not from human effort alone, but from seeking God's will. Section 7. Fathers of Faith, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The story of Genesis then shifts to a man named Abram, who would become known as Abraham, the father of faith. God called Abraham to leave his homeland and journey to a new land that he would show him.
I will go, Lord, trusting in your promises.
God promised to make Abraham's descendants into a great nation and bless all the families of the earth through him. Abraham, trusting in God's promises, obeyed. God's covenant continued with Abraham's son Isaac and his grandson Jacob. Jacob, later renamed Israel, had 12 sons who became the heads of the 12 tribes of Israel. These patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, stand as pillars of faith in the Old Testament. Their stories demonstrate the importance of trusting God's promises, even when they seem impossible. Section 8. A legacy of faith, Genesis, and the Bible's grand narrative. Genesis, the book of beginnings, lays the foundation for the entire Bible. It introduces us to the God who created the universe and desires a relationship with humanity. We see God's heart for justice and mercy. We witness the consequences of sin and the hope of redemption. We encounter men and women of faith who teach us about trust, obedience, and God's unwavering faithfulness. The stories of Genesis are more than just ancient history. They are timeless truths woven into the fabric of human experience. They speak to our deepest longings, our greatest fears, and our constant search for meaning. As we move forward in our journey through the Bible, we carry the lessons of Genesis with us. We remember God's creative power, His love for humanity, and His plan to redeem and restore all things.